Well, I thought I would pop in for just a minute. I'm in the field today. I just dropped my daughter off at work, and I am excited. And I want to say that because I almost wasn't able to do that anymore. I know I put a little bit on here about my daughter being in a car accident, but I was trying to get my feelings and my emotions correct because I didn't want to come out here and blast anybody and defamation of character and, just make somebody feel really, really bad, because when people do stuff, make mistakes like that, they tend to want to go in depression after the fact. And I never want to say nothing to make anybody go over the top. So that's the reason why I didn't come on here and blast out like that. But like I said, I'm in the field. I'm roaming. I'm on my way towards the house. I got to pick her back up at like midnight tonight. But I wanted to come on here and say, I was laying in the bed earlier thinking, I was going to sleep in. But I couldn't sleep in. Because she was up in the room being loud and talking to her people on the phone, on her friends, like she had to yell to the other state or the other side of the country or whatever. And I'm in there trying to sleep. Now, normally I'm hollering and screaming, because some people got to have respect. I'm trying to sleep in. I don't want to hear all that noise in my house. But I had to sit there and give God glory. I just laid there and basked in it for a minute because he was reminding me that, by the way, that accident was on July 4th. They was in California celebrating July 4th. She going to the beach or whatever. He reminded me that if he hadn't answered prayer, this could be a little different. I wouldn't have been able to yell and scream no more about her yelling and talking on the phone loud in my house. So I laid there and I enjoyed it for a moment. Because like I said, it could have looked a whole lot different. I'm still really not ready to tell the whole story because my emotions and my feelings is in it. Maybe later on today. Not this video. But anyway, she was hollering and screaming and getting, all talking and up. I mean, she came home, she was quiet, heartbroken, PTSD, scared to get in vehicles and stuff like that. But this morning, I had my Brianna back, my daughter back. And I sat there and I just gave God glory. Because it could have looked different. God answered prayer. And I say that for those who don't believe. There's some of us call it intuition, like a knowing. Those of us that aren't lost souls. There's like something in your spirit. Something in your spirit. You can't explain it. You don't know how it's got there or why you believe the way you believe, but it's there. It's like some people, mother's intuition, but men have intuition as well. When they have the Spirit of the Lord on the inside of them, God on the inside of them. People don't believe that God lives on the inside of us. But he uses these hands, our hands, to bless others. That's how he blesses the people in the world. If you ain't got nobody in your circle that's willing to bless you, or you don't have people blessing you in your circle, or, if you all selfish and by yourself, how you expect to get a blessing from God when you don't have a vessel able to do that? Or able to be there to be the hands of God in your life. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying. She was back to herself. And I'm sitting there getting ready to go off. But I said, I just have to give God praise for a minute. Because, like I say, it could have looked different. I'm standing in the middle of my dining room area where I have my desk at. And I'm getting ready to do some more work. And I came out the kitchen. And before I sat down and put my drink, it was in my hand, my food. I was getting ready to eat while I was doing my notes. And I just felt the presence of God speak to me. He said, it's time she learned her lesson. Y'all know me. I just believe God. I just trust God like that. So I say, okay, Lord, just save her life. That's all I said. Lord, just save her life. And at that very moment, the pressure, the presence or whatever left me. As if, amen, done deal. I sat down eating. I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know what. That's why I say y'all got to be careful what you say when you pray. You got to be careful what you're saying to your children, because you don't know how God going to bring them back to you. I didn't know. All I knew is I prayed that Lord save her life, which means, Lord, don't bring me back a body bag. I'm willing to accept whatever you decide, but I ask that you don't bring me back a body bag. So, and I received my confirmation in my spirit. So, anyway, trying not to make this a long story. I'm sitting there reminiscing in my head. You know, you don't worry. You give it to God and leave it. I'm thinking about all these intrusive thoughts in my head about what could happen or what's going to happen. At that time, I really didn't know nothing. Then I happened to look on my phone to see where she was at. And then that's when I really found out that she was in California. She was all up and down the beach, you know, going all Huntington Beach, Long Beach. She was all over the place. Torrance, California, all over the place. Just driving around, saying she must be in somebody's car or whatever. So I'm just praying. At that moment, I'm just praying, because that's all I can do. That's what keeps me busy, is praying. Not praying that I take it out of God's hand, but I'm just praying. So days go by, I'm checking the phone, not, going against God, but just trying to see where she at. What's going on with that? When I wasn't paying no attention, wasn't thinking about it, I was on the phone with my baby boy that morning. I got a phone call from her phone that came through, showed that it was coming through while we were talking on the phone. And I told my baby boy, I say, I got to take this call. I say, it's your sister. I ain't told him nothing. He didn't even know she was in California. In his spirit, he knew to look on his phone to see where she was at. And he texted me while I was talking to her on the phone. He said, what is she doing in the hospital in California? I didn't respond to him because I believe he knew I would call him back. So as I'm talking to her, that's a praise point right there. That's a point where, somebody ought to praise. Because had God not answered prayer, I wouldn't be talking to her on the phone. So I asked her, I said, what's going on? She said, I just wanted you to know, because I know you see me on the phone, that I'm okay. I'm in the hospital. She sounded like she had been knocked up, pretty good in the car accident or whatever. She tried to give me a little bit of what was going on or what happened, but she really couldn't. So I got on the phone with her friend and trying to figure out if I need to put some gas in my new Cadillac and drive down there and get her. And they said, oh no, they don't want me to come down there, because if I'd have come down there and that, no, they wouldn't have been nothing nice. So, oh no, we gonna get her back. We just give us some time. Give us till 2-3 days. I said, she gotta be in school Monday morning. I say, let me know if I gotta go pick her up or whatever, because I didn't know the condition she was in or whatever. But I just said she gotta be back in school Monday morning or whatever. Or we'll get it. We're gonna get somebody. We're gonna see about somebody with a van and bring her back. We'll get it done. Don't worry about it. We'll get it done. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give y'all a few hours. I better hear something by 6 o'clock. I'm the mama that people don't want to come around because it ain't gonna be nothing nice. So I let that go. I talked to my baby boy, let him know what was going on. All my boys. I told my oldest, I'm like, just letting you know what time you get off work, we might have to roll. I'll roll up and let you sleep and you roll back, because I be having problems with I still got to get, I think, what you call an injection in this eye a little bit. It looked like I'm looking through a waterfall. Sometimes trying to drive with one eye or work with one eye gets tired every while. That's a whole testimony in itself. God is fixing it or whatever. It used to be worse than that. But I've had injections and 2 laser surgeries. So it's almost fixed. It is done in God's name. So I'm just, I don't want to drive by myself trying to see that at night because I would have to pull over and drive in the daytime. So anyway, he said, okay, mama, he's ready to roll, whatever. We got off. Long story short, I got a call that they got to go get some other friend. I didn't know how many people was in this vehicle. Some other friend out of jail. The driver went to jail. I'm just going to give you all that. And then, they had to get somebody with the van or whatever. So, like I say, about almost 24 hours later, well, a little over 24 hours later, I get a call that she's on her way. They're on their way back. And then I watched her on the phone, and then I know they got back about 4 o'clock, maybe that day and a half later or whatever. So, long story short, you don't know how God gonna answer prayer. And you don't know how God is going to deliver your children back into your hand. So we got to be careful what we say. And while they're back, we got to be careful not to be judgmental. We got to be careful not to be on their head all the time and make them feel worse about what they did. Because pride was there. She done snuck off, went to California because she wanted to. I guess because she knew I was going to be on her, talking about she just started school, she got this job, she ain't paying no bills, yada yada. She needed to get some work ethic, whatever. When you get your finances, everything together, and you want to go vacation, do that. She didn't want to hear that. She saw opportunity to go to the beach. She get that from her mama. I'll go to the beach in a minute. I'm thinking about going to the beach here real soon. But I don't want to put no miles on my truck. I'm about to rent a car. But we got to be careful what we say. We can't be judgmental. We can't beat them in the head with a mallet or whatever. They already know they messed up. Trust and believe. Especially the ones that know God. God has already got it. He already telling them. That's all you got to do is make sure that you raise your children in the admonition of the Lord. Make sure that they can hear God. Make sure that they know God. You give them every opportunity to believe in God. You exemplify, show God around them. The testimonies of God around them. Everything. The world exposed them to everything else. Why can't we expose them to God? So one thing I do know about my child, she is saved. And if y'all see any of her videos of praise dance and everything, she does know the Lord. So that was a plus for me there too. So he's bringing her back. And it's because she was getting out there, wilding out, getting out there too far or whatever. God will do something in your life to bring you back to him. He don't just let you go out there willy-nilly and just destroy yourself. Love don't just let you go like that. Love will leave the 99 and go after that one. That's how God is. You got to be, but he loves free will. I mean, he honors free will. As long as you want to keep doing what you're doing, he gonna allow you to do it. But he's always there to tap you on your shoulder, give you that unction pull in your spirit, whatever. As long as you're able to listen to him. You know, like I said before, he puts the gifts inside you before the foundations of the world. His spirit is on the inside of you. As long as you believe him and receive him, that's the only way you're going to know what your gifts are, is to be able to invite him in. But like I say, we can't be judgmental, and we can't sit here and, you know, throw our children under the bus, beating them upside the head, talking about, you know, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that. They already know. PTSD kicked in. She knows. So she's very humble right now. And like I said, I just dropped her off to work. All that hollering and screaming this morning, I finally got out the bed and told her, you know, get back to mama. I said, hey, I'm in here trying to sleep. Well, where they at? You trying to talk to somebody at Lake Mead and the phone ain't working or what? So she understood. But it's a blessing that I was able to hear her this morning. Because sometimes our children make decisions that they don't understand. And I may not, had it went different, I may not have ever been able to hear her voice again. But God. Like I say, I'm going to cut this one. I might come on here a little later or whatever. I'm going to tell the story out here. I've just got to calm my spirit so I can tell it the right way and not hurt anybody. Because, yeah, I'm a little upset. You don't put people's livelihood in your hands and you just disrespect it. But anyway, until the next one, y'all stay blessed.